Hey, I'm Jeff from the Rive team, and in this video, I want to talk to you about listener action scripts. So it's one of the script protocols available. Here you'll find listener action script, and a listener action script runs when you have a listener in your state machine. And what I'm going to show is an example of setting one up to detect a double click instead of a single click, which is something that is much harder to do without a script. When you create a new listener action script, you'll see you get the default template here with the initial type, which includes the context, which will allow you to grab any view model properties. It'll give you the init function as well as the perform action function, and those all get returned at the end here. So to use a double click function, I have a view model set up that has a clicked trigger and a double clicked trigger. And I also have timelines for those two states. So for my click state, it's going to flash the word click, and for double click, it's going to flash the word double click. So it'll be really clear what's happening. The Rive agent helped me to set up this double click detector script using the two data properties, clicked and double clicked. And here's what it looks like in the type. It's going to set a threshold, and that's going to be the amount of time between the two clicks to determine if it's a click or a double click. It's also going to get the clicked property trigger and the double clicked property trigger, as well as last click time number. So in init, it's going to get the view model, and it's also going to get the trigger called clicked and get the trigger called double clicked. For perform action, it's going to make sure that the action is a pointer event, and then it's going to set a now value based on the current time so that it can tell how much time has elapsed. And then for is double click, it's going to look to see if the last time click is greater than or equal to 0 and the time elapsed is less than or equal to the threshold value. And because threshold is set as an input, we'll be able to define that when we add our listener. So if is double click is true, then it's going to fire the double clicked trigger in the view model. And we can use that as a condition in our state machine. It's also going to reset the last click time to -1 so that our is double click condition is not met. It's not true until the next time a click happens. If not, it's just going to fire the clicked trigger instead of the double clicked, and reset the last click time to now. And then it'll return all those values. It sets a default value for the threshold of 0.3 seconds, and this script is ready to set up. So in my state machine, I'm going to select this ellipse shape as my listener target, and I'll come down to the listeners and add a new one. And I'm going to add a scripted action type. So when I create that, I can see that because I had ellipse selected already, that's already set as my target. If you create the listener without it selected, you can click and choose your target on the stage or in the hierarchy, and you can choose what to listen to. We're going to set it to click, and when a click happens on this target, then we're going to say which script do we want to run, and this is where we'll find our listener action scripts. So here's the default one we created to look at the initial structure. And here's our click detector script. If I add the listener action script, you can see that it shows up here. And what we'll notice if we add the click detector script is then we also have this option to set that threshold value. And we see the default 0.3 value that was defined in the script. So we could set this to be a longer amount if we want it to be half a second between clicks and still count as a double click. We can adjust the value here. And we can also reset it to the default set in the script by resetting the value here. This time seems to work pretty well for the double click. And now we have this listener set up, and it's going to fire the triggers as defined by the script. So we click once, we get the click. When we double click, we can see the first one fires click and the second one fires double clicked. So we can use that to set up conditions for transitions to our two states. Pause my state machine. I'm going to add click and double click into my state machine layer. And I'll use the any state, which works really well with triggers. So to go to click, we want that to happen when click is reported. And for double click, we'll do that when the double click trigger is fired. And I'll have both of these go to exit when they're done playing so that they'll be ready to replay after they're done. So I'll set exit time to 100%. And now if we play this, click once, we get click twice, we get double click. And that gives us a really nice, clear indication of what's happening, but we also can add a more fun animation to this. So let's set this up with this bubble artwork and animations that Laura set up for us. So Laura created this artwork of this bubble and these two awesome animations where we have the bubble in, where it kind of grows and shrinks back down, which we'll use as our single click, and the bubble pop, which gets bigger and pops. We'll use that for our double click. There's also a hovering animation that happens here too. That'll work really well for just an ongoing motion. This artwork is set up with solos for the two types of animations. So I'm going to add another shape to be my listener. Just add another ellipse here. I'm going to remove the fill. We don't need to see it. I'm also going to lock it because all we're going to use it for is the click target. And with that selected, I can create a new listener. Scripted action, just like before, we're going to use click, and we're going to use the click detector and keep it on the 3-second threshold. This artboard is using the same view model, which means it also has the click and double click triggers. So I can just set up my animations the same way we did on the other state machine. For bubble in, I want to use the click trigger, and for bubble pop, I want to use the double click trigger. And we'll have them both go to exit when they're done. This animation has a second layer with the hovering timeline set up, so it will start to hover and loop when the state machine starts. And now this is ready to click and double click. And you can use that with any animations that you'd like. That listener action script makes it a lot easier to tell the difference between a single and a double click.